Chris Kelly with you here once again in regards to EFT tapping solutions, and today we are going to tackle the issue of CFS, or chronic fatigue syndrome. So what is chronic fatigue syndrome? Well, the definitions are a little vague, and I'm going to give you my definition of you are either or mentally extremely tired or physically extremely tired or both. Okay, so if your doctor has diagnosed you with this, it is perhaps good, but what I don't want you to do is I don't want you to get hung up on the diagnosis. Okay, this is a big issue. It's psychosomatic, and we talk about placebo effect, means that it's kind of a mental process and things like that, and it certainly could be. So in regards to chronic fatigue syndrome, what we're going to do, as always, is we're going to grab our EFT tapping notebook. If you don't have one, get a notebook, label it EFT tapping, and write down all the issues you're having in regards to chronic physical pain, emotional, negative emotions, anything, your boss is a jerk, your spouse you're having a tough time with, whatever it is, write this stuff down into your EFT tapping journal, okay? So you're going to write this down, chronic fatigue syndrome, and you are going to write down all the elements that you are feeling. If you have chronic muscle pain, if you have chronic overall physical body tiredness, if you're extremely tired, write that down. Okay, write down how you feel first thing in the morning. Write down several times during the day. Take your EFT tapping notebook with you to work. Write down how you feel whenever you can think about it during the day, okay? If you are mentally exhausted, write that down. Again, first thing in the morning. How do you feel when you wake up? How do you feel after breakfast? How do you feel when you're having lunch? How do you feel in the afternoons, in the evenings, before you go to bed? I want you to write all of this stuff down because the mind and body is extremely complex, okay? Perhaps you have a chemical imbalance in your body. Perhaps you have you're lacking in nutrition. You don't eat very well. Perhaps you have insomnia. You're not sleeping very well. Perhaps you have an extremely physical job, and this is causing you to be physically tired. Okay, I want you to write all of these things down, and what we can do is then we can start tapping on this. And if you want to start tapping, we'll go ahead and do a little tapping on the general issue of chronic fatigue syndrome. But I also want to be very specific I want you to do the EFT tapping when you feel a specific way that you don't feel as you should or quite right, okay? So again, let me put my disclaimer in here to cover my rear end. I am not a medical doctor. I'm not a doctor of any kind. And EFT tapping is used to complement Western medicine, okay? Don't use this video and say, well, I'm going to use EFT tapping and it didn't work. Chris Kelly said to not go to my doctor. No, that is not what I'm saying. Go to your doctor, physician's assistant, nurse practitioner, whoever your professional healthcare provider is, go to them and get a full blood panel workup done and take a look at some of these things. Run some tests. I love Western medicine. And again, EFT tapping is a complement to this. It is not a replacement for professional medical help, okay? So let's start doing some tapping. Again, your most pressing issue would be if you want to tap right on chronic fatigue syndrome, you can do that as your reminder phrase there. Or if you're feeling extremely physically tired, okay, you can tap on that. Or if you're mentally exhausted, you can tap on that. But what we're going to do is scale that. Let's say you're really high, like an 8 and a 9. You just woke up in the morning and you feel exhausted, even though you probably slept very well, or maybe you didn't. So let's go ahead and tap on that. Setup statement, karate chop point. Again, even though I have chronic fatigue syndrome, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I have chronic fatigue syndrome, I love and accept myself completely. Even though I have chronic fatigue syndrome, I love and accept myself completely. I have chronic fatigue syndrome. I'm tired all the time. I'm mentally exhausted. I'm physically exhausted. I've been diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome. I have chronic fatigue syndrome. I'm always fatigued. I'm always tired. Take a deep breath, relax, see if you feel any better, okay? I seriously doubt you're going to feel better after one round of tapping, okay? So let's do another one. Even though I have chronic fatigue syndrome, I love and accept myself completely. Even though I have chronic fatigue syndrome, I love and accept myself completely. I've been diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, but I completely love and completely accept myself completely. I love and accept myself completely. I have chronic fatigue syndrome. I'm still extremely tired. I'm mentally tired. I'm physically tired. I have chronic fatigue syndrome. The doctor didn't even explain it very well, but I feel tired all the time. I feel tired all the time. Okay? Now, I think I cheated a little bit on that round of tapping, and what I mean by that is I mixed up a couple issues of mental exhaustion and I'm physically tired. So what you really want to do is to separate these issues and tap on them separately, okay? So tap on, I'm mentally exhausted, but I love and accept myself completely. I'm mentally exhausted, but I love and accept myself completely. I completely love and accept myself, even though I'm mentally exhausted. Oh, I'm mentally exhausted. I can't even think. I don't even know what I'm supposed to do today. I'm mentally exhausted. I'm mentally exhausted. I'm mentally exhausted. I'm mentally exhausted. I'm just mentally exhausted. And then take another deep breath. Go ahead and relax. And then scale this again on your scale of 0 being you're totally perfect, everything's good, and 10 is you need serious help, okay, is driving you crazy. So if it's about an 8 like we began with, hopefully it dropped a little bit. So what I want you to do, as I always say, is tap through this multiple times, at least 5 times. I would say minimum of 10 to 20 times just to see if this thing moves, okay? And when you're tapping through this is a key point, is even though I'm mentally exhausted or even though I'm physically exhausted, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And then as you're tapping on the meridian points, what I want you to do is to focus on this mental exhaustion or this physical exhaustion, but I want your mind to be open at the same time. So you're kind of multitasking of focusing on the problem or the issue that you have right at this moment, but I want you to allow your mind to open up a little bit, okay? So when you're tapping on these points and you're saying, I'm mentally exhausted, perhaps your mind will come up with the reason why you're mentally exhausted, okay? Perhaps you have an extremely stressful job. Perhaps your relationship with your spouse is not going as planned, okay? That's an aspect of EFT tapping, and a lot of times these are the real culprits. These are the real issues that we have that we just blame on some blanket diagnosis, okay? CFS is extremely complex, and the doctors, unless they've come out with new medical research and science that I don't know about, which is completely possible, it's kind of a vague diagnosis. If you've ever been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, okay, this is another one that, well, they say that, if you're always mentally tired and you have these tender points, there's 7 or 9 or 23 or something like that, points on your body that are tender, well, I think you have fibromyalgia, okay? You might have chronic fatigue syndrome, okay? So don't get hung up on that, and don't bring more negativity to you than you already have, because if you're feeling pain, if you're extremely exhausted, you probably have some negative emotions surrounding that, okay? So tap through the negativity on, oh, I'm so exhausted, but then tap through some positive tapping, some positive affirmations. I know I'm going to feel better, and I love and accept myself completely. I know this CFS is going to go away, and I love and accept myself completely. I completely love and completely accept myself, even though I have chronic fatigue syndrome. Oh, I'm going to feel better. I don't feel good right now, but I'm going to feel better. This chronic fatigue syndrome is going to go away. This chronic fatigue syndrome is going to go away. Thy will be done. I will get over this. I will get through this. Okay? So those are the tapping points. Again, I want to make the point, and this is probably the most important point for this EFT tapping video, is to write down all the different aspects in your EFT tapping notebook, okay? I'm mentally fatigued in the afternoon, after the coffee wore off. I'm physically tired all day long. And again, go see your doctor, get a full panel blood workup done, and check that out, because the body is extremely complex, and especially with the chemicals in your body. You have your nervous system. With the nerves, you have your immune system. The latest research I've seen with chronic fatigue syndrome is tying this to an immune system disorder, perhaps your endocrine system with the amygdala, which I've talked extensively about in other videos. Perhaps it's still releasing stress hormones or other organs in your body that are tied to your endocrine system are releasing other hormones, and you're just chemically imbalanced inside your body. And then your nervous system is trying to regulate this, and you throw the immune system in here, and it gets pretty complex, okay? So tap through the points, tap through some general tapping of, I've got chronic fatigue syndrome, but I completely love and accept myself, okay? And then tap through these points. I have chronic fatigue syndrome. I have chronic fatigue syndrome. And then tap through the same setup of I'm mentally tired. I'm mentally exhausted. Okay? Then tap through, oh, all my muscles hurt. My body aches. My muscles ache. My joints ache. Okay? So tap through all of that, and I can almost guarantee you're going to get some relief. Okay? If you're having trouble with this, give me a call. If you're on my YouTube page, leave me a comment, or I have my contact information on that. I offer a free 60-minute full-hour session, and I can walk you through this, and we can look at all the different aspects between me communicating with you, whether this is in person in Prescott, Arizona, or in Las Vegas, or if you're somewhere else, we can do this on video. It's not that hard, and it actually works great, just like this video that I'm demonstrating here with you. It works great also. So give me a call and let me know, and I'm going to sign off for right now. This video is getting a little bit long. This is a really complex issue with this chronic fatigue syndrome, but I can guarantee that EFT tapping will assist you, okay? So have a good day. I'll talk to you soon. Chris Kelly with EFT Tapping Solutions signing off. Have a good one.